In this module, we'll be looking at how to correct blemishes, such as bruises, scratches, pimples, and other marks on the face and body. Now, before we begin, you want to open the Blemish.jpg file. So you'll go on your desktop to the original photos, and in Photoshop, you want to open Blemish.jpg, as I have. You should see a boy with a Rice Krispie treat in his mouth, like in this photo. So before we begin, let's just briefly talk about blemishes. When we want to correct blemishes in Yearbook, we don't want to correct permanent facial features, but we do want to make people look their best. So if someone has a small scratch on their face that's temporary, or a pimple, or a small bruise, those are all things that are usually acceptable to correct in a photo. However, we don't want to correct permanent facial features. So you want to look and make sure that whatever you're correcting is not permanent, so such as a mole or freckles, wrinkles. You don't want to be removing those features entirely. So once you determine what features you want to work on, go ahead and zoom in on those features. So in this photo, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in first on the forehead. It looks like he has two small bruises, so one on this side of his forehead and one on this side of the forehead. So we'll go ahead and remove those first. Another mark I might remove is on the hand. It looks like there's a scratch on the wrist here. I'll go ahead and leave the food on the hands, but you could remove that as well. So first, on the forehead, I'm going to use the healing brush tool. So over on the left-hand side, you'll see a Band-Aid icon. That's the same place where we looked for the red eye tool. And the first option, Spot Healing Brush Tool, is what we'll use today. So go ahead and select that. You'll notice the cursor is now a circle, and we can choose the size of the brush to use. I'm using one that's 48 pixels. That's fairly big. You can use one a little bit smaller if you'd like. You don't want it to be too small or too large based on this subject. Okay, hardness I have at 34%. You can adjust that and see which you like better. And spacing low is fine. Okay, once you have that set up, I'm going to go to the area that I want to correct. So I'll first correct this little mark on the right, and then I'll correct this other mark on the left. So all I do is, using the mouse, I'm going to click near the mark. And what that does is it will blend in the mark with the surrounding skin, which is exactly what I want it to do. I don't want it to look like anything was done here. I just want it to blend in. And I'll do the same over on the left side. Whoops. Okay, so there. I've got both marks removed, again, so it looks natural, so that nothing has ever been done to that area. If you make a mistake at all, just hit undo, Command Z, as you normally would, to go back a step, or go edit step backwards if you need to go back more than one step. I'll go ahead and do the same thing down by the wrist. I'm just going to zoom in one more time. And by the wrist, you'll see there's a scratch here. So kind of starting on the outside edge, I'll just click slowly towards that scratch. Whoops. Now that's a mistake. This is a good thing to show you. The brush picked up a little bit of blue from the shirt. So I'm going to go ahead and do Command Z to undo that. And I'm just going to click maybe a little more above it. And there, it's fairly well faded in. So I'll go ahead and zoom back out. So that's the Command minus. And it hasn't, again, totally removed that mark, but it looks a little more natural now. I'll go ahead and save it. I'm going to go to File, Save As, and this time I'll call it Blemish Corrected. And I'll save it in my corrected folder. I've already done one here, so it'll ask me if I want to replace it, so sure. And I'll save it at a high quality here to be used in the yearbook. Again, it's always a good idea to save a copy of your original photo so that if you ever want to go back to your original photo, you can. So if I had made a mistake here, or if there was something else I wanted from the original photo, I would always be able to do so.